is the one that's tying up with him tonight. That's how much they don't want Mitt Romney.
There's no question that it's a big night for Rick Santorum. My point is that Governor Romney 6 weeks ago wasn't considered to be even remotely competitive in the state of Iowa. He wasn't competing there. So it's a good night for Romney. It's a good night for Santorum, and we'll see it go forward.
But the turnout story amounts to absolutely nothing more than Ron Paul got a bigger turnout than last time. That's the entire story on why this turnout is what it is. You take Ron Paul out of this election, and you have a much lower turnout than last time.
I would just say, on Mitt Romney, I don't mean to be too literal about this, but last night in Iowa, quote, "We're going to win this thing." That does not round down the third.
Was the nomination
thing.
Yeah,
that's what they. Right? That's how they tried to sell it this morning. When you heard it last night in context, no. All right,
and if he wins tonight, the thing will be, "I meant tonight."
Okay, that's exactly. They'll reverse
Rachel,
that.
You're going to win that other thing.
I am going to win that other thing.
We'll talk later about what that is.
I'm going to win that too. We'll be checking in on Chris Matthews in Des Moines when we get back. It is still too close to call, and we do not have any idea when we're going to be able to call this. It's great. You're watching MSNBC's coverage of the Iowa caucuses. This is one of those nights in politics.
You want to know why we don't have enough economic growth in this country? Because the middle class doesn't have the disposable income that they used to have. They're feeling the pressures of health care, pension, just keeping their job. And all the Republicans talk about is more tax cuts for the wealthy. We can't raise taxes on the job creators? Really? Where are the jobs?
Tomorrow, America's conversation will start here with a recap of the results from Iowa. Morning Joe, tomorrow 6 to 9 a.m. on MSNBC.
Wouldn't it be cool if you took the top down on a crossover? If there were buttons for this? If your transmission never changed gears? Wouldn't it be cool if your car could handle the kids and the Nürburgring? Or what if you built a car in Tennessee that could change the world? Yeah, that would be cool. Nissan. Innovation for today. Innovation for tomorrow. Innovation for all.
Like many chefs today, I feel the best approach to food is to keep it whole for better nutrition. And that's what they do with Great Grain cereal. See the seam on the wheat grain? Same as on the flake. Because Great Grain steams and bakes the actual whole grain. Now check out the other guy's flake. Hello, no seam. Because it's more processed. Now, which do you suppose has better nutrition for you? Great Grains, the whole grain cereal.
I had enough of feeling embarrassed about my skin.
Enough of just covering up my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis.
I decided enough is enough.
I started Enbrel. It's clinically proven to provide clearer skin.
Enbrel may not work for everyone and may not clear you completely, but for many it gets skin clear fast, within 2 months, and keeps it clear up to 9 months.
Because Enbrel suppresses your immune system, it may lower your ability to fight infections. Serious, sometimes fatal events, including infections, tuberculosis, lymphoma, other cancers, and nervous system and blood disorders have occurred. Before starting Enbrel, your doctor should test you for tuberculosis and discuss whether you've been to a region where certain fungal infections are common. Don't start Enbrel if you have an infection like the flu. Tell your doctor if you're prone to infections, have cuts or sores, have had hepatitis B, have been treated for heart failure, or if while on Enbrel, you experience persistent fever, bruising, bleeding, or paleness.
If you've had enough, ask your dermatologist about Enbrel.
We went from my mom's kitchen to an 8,000 square foot facility. I'm Anthony Flynn, and I'm the owner of U-Bar.
Millions of business owners like Anthony Flynn use Vistaprint.com to promote their business, with everything from business cards to brochures to banners.
I felt like they went around to every small business and said, how can we make this as easy as possible? And they listened. And my sister was like, this card is amazing. You actually look like a professional company now.
Get 250 premium business cards for only $10 at Vistaprint.com.
To the 5 a.m. scholar, the 2 trains and a bus rider, the I'll sleep when it's done academic. For 80 years, we've been inspired by you, and we've been honored to walk with you, to help you get where you want to be. Because your moment is now. Let nothing stand in your way. Learn more at keller.edu.
Right now, it is too close to call in Iowa, but right now we are looking at 55% of the vote in. And look, we're having a little bit of split here now. Rick Santorum at 25%, Mitt Romney at 23%, Ron Paul at 21%. Again, this is with 55% of the vote in. NBC is calling this too close to call. We do not know at what point there will be a projected winner in Iowa. It may be a very late night. This is a very tight race. Let's go back to Des Moines right now. And Chris Matthews. Chris?
Thank you, Rachel. Back here in Iowa, I want to check with, we've got Gene Robinson, the Washington Post, and Howard Feynman. Howard, I'm just looking at this number here in this relentless stall that Romney's been in now for a long time.
many years.
This 23% thing is not to be ignored. If this holds throughout the evening, the next several hours is the full count. We have 55% in now, and Mitt Romney has a problem. That's 3/4 of the Republican Party gets a really good look at him and says no.
Yeah. I agree with that, Chris. I think that the Romney people were trying to spin, and the conventional wisdom of the other day was, if he finishes a close second here, if he's all bunched up at the top, then fine, you know, Iowa's neutered, it doesn't matter, let's go on. But just the sheer lack of lift in the Romney candidacy, going back 4 years to now, he basically got all the same vote, the exact, maybe many of the same people that he got 4 years ago, except for those who died in the meantime, that he got 4 years ago. Yeah. So it can't be, to me, it can't be, having gone to the rallies, having to see how manufactured they were, seeing how much effort had to go in.
Millions and millions of dollars.
So much effort and organization to go into it.
Gene, how do you account for this? Looking at this objectively, millions and millions of dollars, a first-rate campaign organization, all the money and style, a beautiful family, beautiful, everything about the guy is perfect, except Republicans in their gut reject him so far. Three-quarters of them.
Certainly Republicans in Iowa. I mean, we'll look back and say he made a mistake. Remember, he was going to skip Iowa. He was
but how's this so different than South Carolina?
Well, but we'll get to South Carolina. But he was going to downplay Iowa. He decided that it looked like he could come in and end this thing. He could kill them all if he came in hard.
If he killed Gingrich.
And right, exactly.
But he hasn't sold himself.
Came in hard, and he wasn't able to close the deal. He couldn't close the deal.
But
he
all
couldn't
his
get
money,
rid of the competition.
Okay, let's get the point here.
And so
how much money did he spend destroying, through his super PAC, destroying Gingrich, and how much did he spend selling himself? The ratio was kill.
Well, Chris, you try to get rid of Gingrich, but you know, sell himself. He's been coming to Iowa for a long time, right? People here do know Mitt Romney.
Right.
They're not enthusiastic about it, but I wouldn't confuse that with an overall lack of enthusiasm in the Republican Party. Republicans, make no mistake, do want to defeat Barack Obama. They haven't decided how to do it yet, but I think it's a mistake to say, oh, well, there's no enthusiasm.
Will he get above 25% in the next national poll? Will he get above 25% in the next Republican poll?
No, I don't know.
Okay, a couple things. Romney's been working New Hampshire since practically he was a child. He's got a house there and everything. Rick Santorum has spent more time and effort there than you would think. In his campaign manager, his national campaign manager, is from New Hampshire, knows New Hampshire like the back of his hand, and managed Pat Buchanan's successful campaign there years ago. So you're going to find that actually Santorum has some organization in both New Hampshire and South Carolina that you might not have expected. The question is, can he get the money together? Can he get the momentum? And can he be a good TV-based surge candidate? Because Rick Santorum is more of a plodding, put one foot in front of the other kind of candidate. Can he ride a wave here? So part of it's money. Part of it is whether he can project through the TV screen the kind of decency and connection that he was able to make person to person to person here. Right. He did it the old-fashioned way in Iowa. You can't do that really anywhere else.
Can Rick do that next week?
Excuse me?
Can he do it again next week?
Well, he doesn't have the time to go to every town in New Hampshire, but he does have a good campaign manager, and he has people who know New Hampshire more than you think. So he can make it a contest. If he can get the lift out of this, he can make it more of a contest. Again, a three-way contest with Ron Paul in New Hampshire.
But in the charisma department, he doesn't exactly soar. I mean, he's not that sort of candidate.
Neither
he doesn't really...
A contest
Howard and Gene and Chris and Iowa, I'm sorry to have to interrupt you, but I do have to do some business here on the air. We are continuing to watch the numbers come in from Iowa. It is still overall too close to call, but NBC News is projecting that the third-place finisher in Iowa tonight is Ron Paul. Again, what we are projecting here is the third-place finish of Dr. Ron Paul. The overall race, the winner of the Iowa caucus, is still considered to be too close to call, but we now know that it is between Rick Santorum and Mitt Romney. Ron Paul, the projected third-place finisher in Iowa. Right now, 88% of the vote in. We'll be talking about where that vote has come in from, where we are still expecting to hear from, and who is running strong in those places that have yet to report. It is a tight-as-a-tick race right now between Rick Santorum and Mitt Romney. Ron Paul, again, projected to finish third. I want to go now to our panel here in New York. Also, keep on the line if we can, our friends in Iowa, including Chris Matthews. Chris, let me actually go to you first in Des Moines for your reaction there. With Ron Paul projected to come in third tonight, what do you think the implications are? Mr. Matthews.
Oh, I didn't hear you. You know, I still think that the Republican Party has a problem it's had for 60 years. It's got a battle between what they used to call the primitives and the establishment. And the primitives right now are reflected in, obviously, the Romney vote. I'm sorry, in the Ron Paul vote, and, of course, the Santorum vote. But it's a lot bigger than the establishment vote out here. This Republican establishment's not doing well tonight. It's his turn, and Mitt Romney believes it's his term. In history, except in the 64 races, as has been pointed out earlier tonight, it's generally been the way Republicans pick their candidate. They go with the guy whose turn it is. There's something wrong with Mitt Romney and the Republican base. They're rejecting him like tissue rejection, rejecting some new organ in the body. He doesn't fit with it. It's going to take some special drugs to get him to be accepted by the body politic of the Republican Party. He doesn't fit with the rest of the organism. It's a problem. He may be able to do it with a lot of salesmanship, but he didn't do it in Iowa.
Hey, can I just add, Rachel? I
Sure.
think having covered Ron Paul 4 years ago, I thought in New Hampshire, which was his big play 4 years ago, that he was going to do better than he ended up doing. And I think this result here is going to end up being a tick less than people expected. This is the second go-round now where I find that people make a big show of saying, I'm for Ron Paul, and I think part of it with some people is for dramatic effect. And then when they get down to whether they're actually going to vote for the guy, there's about a 5 to 10% shrinkage there that's going to end up being meaningful here. Ron Paul could have used to have won here, to have finished third by more than the margin of error is less than he was hoping for even 24 hours ago. Don't forget today, they blanketed the airwaves here with radio ads. They had kids from out of state really getting to the caucuses. They told all their caucus participants to show up early. They juiced the system as much as they could, and I think Ron Paul probably in the end now is going to fall slightly short of where they thought he was going to be a day ago.
Well,
and that's the second That's the second time that that's happened.
Howard, I think that's a very good point, and I think there is a Ron Paul specific dynamic, which is that none of us are looking at Ron Paul and thinking, well, because he came in third, he's going to drop out. Ron Paul, as I said before, got zero states in 2008. He stayed in until June. Even Huckabee was gone by March. And so Ron Paul has a plan here, and Ron Paul's plan doesn't depend on him winning Iowa. And one thing that I think is important to note here is that the rules are different this year in the Republican process, and there are a lot more proportionally allocated delegates. A lot fewer states are going to be giving all of their delegates to whoever comes in first. So Ron Paul can potentially can accumulate delegates as long as he can stay in the race, and he can mint money, no pun intended, sort of, and stay there as long as he wants to, and use those delegates for whatever purpose he wants to use them for. And I continue to suspect that what he wants to use them for is to spike Mitt Romney for anybody else.
But every vote Ron Paul
Rachel,
gets after Iowa is going to be harder for him to get. This was the place where he could get the most votes he could possibly get. He's organized there. It's a ground game. People can walk in. Democrats can walk into this thing today who are anti-war and do an instantaneous registration that allows them to do. You're not going to be able to do that anywhere after this. This is his high water mark. And so the question simply becomes from here forward, where did tonight's Ron Paul voters in Iowa, but also the voters for Ron Paul who are out there in the other states, where do they go? Because most of them are probably going to move toward what they think is a reality zone.
Or some of them will have
that reality zone won't be Romney.
But if they become delegates, they can go to Tampa and be very disruptive. If I'm Romney, I'd be concerned about that. But I think Santorum leaves Iowa tonight with momentum. And you can't underestimate momentum in any race. He goes to New Hampshire, where I don't think he wins, but I think he's going to do better than anyone thought. And in South Carolina, with the